right, hey everybody, it's Charles for HumbleMechanic.com, and you may notice that things are a little different than my normal studio. I'm joined with my buddy Paul from DeutscheAutoparts.com, and you know, a while ago I had been doing a series of interviews, and it was called Behind the Wrench, not Behind the Wrench, just Behind the Wrench. And it's been a really long time since I've done that, and I came down to do some videos with Paul and the boys down here, and thought it'd be a really cool opportunity for you guys to get to know Paul a little bit better. So, Paul? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So, a little bit about what we do and who we are. Deutsche Auto Parts, we are a company that specializes in Volkswagen and Audi parts. My personal background is heavily ingrained in VW as a brand. I started out all the way from the lower levels at a dealer, parts, technician, and those such things, and then I moved into management and then eventually came out to do my own thing.
Nice. How long have you been doing your own thing now?
We have been in business 2.5 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Best 2.5 years of your life, I assume?
The best. Absolutely. Couldn't be better.
So you've been doing this full-time 2.5 years. What do you do when you're not working here? Is there a thing that you're not working here? Is that ever a time?
There are very few times when I'm not working here, but I do have a family. I have 2 young kids, so that takes up a pretty good chunk of the rest of my time.
So you need like 7 more hours in the day.
I could use at least another day on top of my day.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can understand that. What do you drive now? You said you're an Audi guy, VW guy, so hopefully you drive a Volkswagen?
Right now I have a 2015 GTI. Nice. Previous cars I've owned, I had a CC before that. That was a 2013. I've had Audi TT, Audi A3, Mark IV GTI. I think that sums up. And I have a Corrado as well.
Yeah,
so,
we actually checked out that Corrado earlier.
Yeah.
Kind of a cool car.
It's interesting.
That's code, by the way, in case you guys didn't pick up on that. What was out of all those? What was your first car?
My first VW was the Mark IV GTI. My first car was a GMC Jimmy.
Nice.
1986.
Was it red with tan?
It was red with a vinyl beige interior and manual steering.
Nice.
Yeah. 2.3 liter for carbureted. It was a pretty hot ride.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
So you said you started out working on cars. What made you decide you want to work on cars?
Well, I would say for me personally, I got into cars. I loved cars, but I had no experience with cars at all. No one in my family worked on cars. They weren't interested in cars, so my love of cars kind of struck out to I wanted to learn more. So it kind of led me down the path of going to a tech school, things like that.
Very cool.
And that's how I ended up working on cars.
When you were out in the field, so to say. You know, I do a little segment on the blog called Shop Shots where I post like some of the weird things that I find and try and share that with everybody on Facebook. What's the weirdest thing you've ever found? But now this isn't like a G-rated show, but let's keep it a little clean.
Yeah, you know,
because you never know when you ask that question what you're opening the door for.
When it comes to people's cars, a lot of times people, even though you let them know, hey, we're going to be working in your trunk or in your glove box, sometimes people leave things and. You know, also wintertime, things get pretty gruesome because animals hide in engine compartments and things like that. So those are all generally unpleasant things you find in when you're working on cars. And, you know, just everybody just keep any pictures of yourself you have.
That's all cell phone now. I don't think people do that anymore.
That was all back in the day, I guess.
This is an old school dude here. Yeah. I remember seeing a lot of that, though, early in my career.
Yeah. And I never went looking for it. Sometimes they just happen to, you're replacing a glove box door on a car, and you know, you open the glove box and you find something that you wish you never saw.
Yeah, sometimes you can't unsee those things.
Absolutely.
So now you don't do that anymore. Now you work in this parts world. What's kind of the best part about what you do now, you think?
Well,
other than hanging out with me,
because obviously really we get to do fun things like this. But you know, a big part of what we do is we're big into performance, modification. You know, if you're into cars, what better thing could you have than having a business where you get to modify cars and talk about cars? You know, that's a double-edged sword sometimes. Cause
absolutely, we were talking about that earlier.
Loving cars sometimes sometimes you just want to just step back and not have to deal with anything related to cars. So just like a lot of times people who work on cars for a living sometimes neglect their cars the most.
Yep. I'm not an example of that, but I know a lot of guys that are. And, after turning wrenches all day on everybody else's car, that's really the last thing you want to do is work on your own. You're not getting paid for it, and you have to pay for it, which is like a double negative. But kind of along that, being in the industry for a long time, like you and I both have, I think we've been in the industry about the same amount of time, we really get a bad rap. And technicians get a bad rap, parts get a bad rap. I can't tell you how many times I've heard the dealership parts department's ripping me off. Well, those guys don't make the parts prices. What do you say to somebody that asks you, how do they avoid getting taken advantage of?
Man.
It's just,
That's,
I know it's sort of a loaded question and maybe a tough one to really just answer, but if your mom comes to you and says, Paul, I think I'm getting ripped off, what should I do? What's like one piece of advice you would give
say
her?
The most important thing in this day and age in general is be an educated consumer. We're obviously a web-based company, and that's where a lot of our customers deal with us and interact with us. There's a lot of information out there to be had.
Absolutely.
If you do your due diligence, you'll make sure you're not getting taken advantage of. And one other thing I always like to make sure our customers know is when you're comparing prices of things, make sure you're comparing apples to apples.
Absolutely.
Because when you compare, if you compare a factory part, as in we, as and you and I have discussed, quality is really important to us. And so we sell a lot of either genuine or very close to genuine quality parts. Comparing a Chinese part to, a factory part, you're obviously never going to get anywhere close to the same price. So, the one thing that you want to make sure, obviously, that everybody knows is when you're comparing prices, compare apples to apples.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. I think that's absolutely fantastic advice. Speaking of maintenance, so I would say probably 80% of what I do is maintenance related in one way or another. Some days more, some days less. What would you tell that same person is the most important piece of maintenance to have done on their car?
Well,
other than buy all of their parts from DeutscheAutoparts.com.
That's always number one.
Shameless plugs are fine.
The basic, I would say all the basic stuff really applies. Oil changes, tire rotations, making sure your brakes are up to spec, making sure tires are really a neglected thing, at least in my opinion, that, I think I saw some statistic that back when I was at the dealer in management, we went through a lot of different training programs, and I think there's a statistic like 30% of the vehicles on the road have tires that are below, that don't meet spec. I think you might know that.
I would believe
that's
probably not too far off, given the condition of a lot of tires that I see.
Yeah, you see a lot more tires than I do.
It's
which is to me that's a scary thought, because
Mm-hmm.
the fact that 30% of people who are driving on the road they're not in a safe vehicle.
Right.
That's a little bit concerning. So,
yeah, absolutely.
It's something that's easy to forget, and personally for me, obviously, I'm married. My wife just relies on me to make sure that I'm taking care of that. I would assume that most households probably have that same thing.
Yep. I know my wife and I were having that exact conversation the other day. She said she loves her Passat because she doesn't ever have to worry about it. And it's true. And I'm more than happy to take care of that for her. So let's move sort of a different direction. Now, I know you're not in the field anymore, but still a Tool fan?
Yeah.
Still like
stuff? We obviously we do our, like we did earlier, DIYs and things like that. So I still working on cars for a while, and then being in the business forever, I lost my passion a little bit for cars. But more recently, over the past couple of years, it's kind of my passion has started to come back a little more, and I think partly because that GTI, because it is a fun car.
Oh yeah.
It is.
Those new GTIs are such a blast to drive. Do you have a favorite tool brand? Are you a tool snob?
I'm not. I think it depends. I think it depends. Okay. I do hand tools. I think Snap-on makes the best hand tools.
I totally agree.
And that applies to me to sockets, wrenches, triple squares, Allens,
sort of
Torx, you know, the basic stuff.
At least the base hand tools when you're a Volkswagen guy.
Yeah.
That would be some exotic stuff if you're not a German guy. So you're sending your kid off to college. I know your little ones are small, so this is a while down the road.
Thank God.
I hope you're not going to give him your GTI, but being a Volkswagen guy aside, what do you think the best car is to send your kid off to college in?
Man, you know, I think that's a loaded question. You know, to me, you've discussed this, I think, at length in some of your videos, is the difference between what car you love and what's the most economical choice. Sometimes there's a gap there. So, you know, I think I love VW. And if, you know, my wife has a minivan.
Is it a VW?
No.
Okay.
No.
I'll put that one to bed.
If it wasn't a Routan, I would gladly have purchased a VW van. No, we have an Odyssey.
Okay, great.
But every other car, with the exception of that, she had a Passat wagon before this, a B6.
Nice.
Which we loved, but you know, we just needed more space, and so minivan she decided she wanted. So yeah, I mean, I would say most likely everybody in my family will drive VWs. But who knows?
That's the same thing I say about a pickup truck, is that if Volkswagen had a pickup...
Amarok.
If Volkswagen had a pickup in the United States that wouldn't be like $85,000, I would definitely be on the full Volkswagen family too. So let's kind of wrap up. I got one more thing that I really want to ask you about, and that's, you know, we go online and we see DeutscheAutoparts.com and we don't really know who's behind it. So what do you think some of the things that you want people to know about what you do that if they didn't know, they don't know? Does that make sense? Is that too many no's in one sentence?
I don't know. I mean, I would almost say, what do you think they should know that they don't know?
I think that's a really good way to turn that back on me. Bravo. But, you know, I've been here a couple of times. I think everybody here is really awesome. The work I see you guys do online is fantastic. Your DIY videos, your videos talking about how certain things work and why certain things fail, the carbon buildup video, have all been a really cool and interesting benefit to the community. And I don't know that there's a lot of people out there giving that kind of information away in the way that you guys do it. And that's really cool. And I think that does bring a ton of value to people that maybe they don't know they want to know that stuff, but it's interesting. You know, I find myself watching them and going, oh, yeah, I know that. And the DIY videos are great. You know, we've done a few, and hopefully some folks can get some really good insight on how things work and how to replace parts and you know, maybe unwind themselves from a bad situation on a DIY. Mm-hmm. So
no, that is, you know, again, we appreciate that a lot. That's something that we work super hard at to try to deliver more than just being a place that, you know, there's a ton of places online you can go that just sell you parts, you know, whatever. All of there it is, hey, we're here to collect your money. Yep. Thank you so much. We all, you know, myself, now a lot of people see only me on camera a lot, but there's a lot of people here that contribute to making everything that we do here great. Just because you see me doesn't mean it's me, you know. There's a lot of,
take credit for all of it.
I can't do that. You know, so you know, we're committed to delivering more value than just being a place that sells parts, and to me, that's what makes us different than just some average person who sells parts online.
You're not going to get that kind of service from Rock Auto or some of the other ones.
I don't think so.
We won't mention anybody else. No, okay.
Yeah.
Well, Paul, thanks for joining me, man. That was a lot of fun.
Awesome.
Chit-chatting about cars.
Thanks for taking the time to talk with me.
If anybody's got a question, how do they reach you?
You can check us out, DeutscheAutoparts.com, or you can give us a call. Check out our website. I will put links to all of that because everybody spells Deutsch wrong. Generally, people spell Deutsch wrong, yeah. All right, guys, this has been Charles for HumbleMechanic.com with Paul from DeutscheAutoparts.com, and I will see you guys next time.